What's up, guys? Hey, how we doing? So today's show is a little different. Leandro Silva, multi-time Brazilian national champion, took some exceptions with some things I said about Enzo Lopes, the Brazilian hero. Well, we got together, we talked. He shared his thoughts about the way I do things. I told him why I do what I do, and it was a really great talk. We talked about everything from the sport to the mentality, and it was really funny too. I thought we were just talking about the issues and going to hammer it out. I thought it was going to be about 30 minutes. So I was about to let him go. He flipped the script on me, and that was kind of fun. He started interviewing me. So the second half is essentially Leandro interviewing me. I hope you guys enjoy this. This is for all you Brazilian fans, and hopefully you guys understand a little bit more where I'm coming from. Thank you to my sponsors, Nano-Xtreme, best pain cream in the world, Coach Rob, Complete Racing Solutions, get your program over there, Epic Garage Designs, Ride Strapped, Precision Transport.
You need people like me so you can point your fucking fingers and say, that's the bad guy.
So
Right.
I've got Brazilian motocross analyst, and apparently down in Brazil, you're a pretty big deal, Leandro. Looks like you got a huge following. You've got some good riders. Tell me a little bit about yourself. What do you got going down there?
Hello, Chris. Hello, guys. Thanks for inviting me. I'm a former professional rider, racing Motocross the Nations, '07, '08, racing the States, and Winter Ames, Mini O's, did some GPs too. I'm 7 times Brazilian champion. So I've been around motorcycles since I was 3 years old. And now actually I do a lot of things. I do some events, obstacle races, like Tough Mudder, Spartan Race. I don't know if you guys know what I'm talking about. I do that in Brazil. And also I make some comments on the races. That's what I love. So I go to the races and make some videos on YouTube, make some reels for Instagram. It's my passion, right? So grew up riding, and now I'm kind of an influencer and podcaster in motocross in Brazil.
That's pretty awesome. That's quite a resume. Oh, you had
Yeah.
raced and stuff. You've got some pretty good Brazilian riders that have come throughout the years. Antonio Balbi, right? He's pretty good.
Yeah, I used to battle with him.
Yeah. Who were the best? I think probably Enzo might be the best you've ever had, but who are some guys in the past that were really good from Brazil?
First thing you gotta understand, racing Brazil is different than racing in America or GPs. The tracks are different, more hard pack and stuff. Like I said, I used to race Balbi, and he always did good in the mud. Even if I'm not mistaken, '08, he won a heat race in Daytona and got fifth in the main event. He beat K-Dub in the mud. In the same year, I beat him here in the mud in Supercross. So he's the most known guy before Enzo in Brazil. But for you guys, probably Enzo is for sure the best one.
So if you were that good, how come did you ever try and come over to the United States? Did you ever want to do Supercross?
Yes, but I got hurt. There's another rider from Brazil who did race the AMA Supercross. It's called Jean Ramos. He used to train with Rhino. He did some, I think, 11 main events or something like that. And I was supposed to go with him. He's one of my best friends, and we grew up racing together. But I got hurt. I got hurt in the end of my career, so that's why I quit racing. But we were supposed to go together. I did when I was amateur, like I told you before, but not as professionally. When I was younger, with Millsaps, Gorky, Nick Avenel, all those kids.
Nice, pretty established. So you're legit. Now, let's talk about Enzo Lopes because that's what really got you and I talking. Why were you so upset with the way that I handled that situation? Because from what I heard, I talked to both Club MX and I
Mhm.
talked to Enzo and his new agent, and at the time, so he just signed with Lucas Myrtle, and I heard the whole situation, and I felt like they handled it poorly. Why were you so mad at me over that?
No, I wasn't that mad. Maybe the words don't exemplify what I'm trying to say because it's just words. You don't know the voice tone, right? So maybe it's that. But I wasn't that mad. I think the niche you are attacking on YouTube, which is totally fine. It's more controversy more than anything, which it gets a lot of views. I can tell you that because I watch the stuff you post. Um, but talking about him, I know him since he was 3 or 4 years old. His dad used to race here. He used to train with me. I do some classes here. I used to have a training facility also. So he's a really shy guy. He doesn't talk too much, not even with us. It's the way he is. And the whole thing about Club MX and Star Racing, for what he told me, he got offered by a Star after signing with Club MX for the next year. And then there was a clause there. If you pay the, how you say forgot the word. So if you
Buyout.
yeah, the buyout, you could move out. And that's what he did. He talked with his parents, with his agent, which was a big move, of course. And he decided to go. I think, in my opinion, everyone who is listening probably would do the same.
So now I don't have a problem with that. And I even said in my video, I would probably do the same thing. Because if you get a chance to go ride for Star Yamaha, those are the best 250s in the sport. What I had a problem with is Club MX pretty much rejuvenated his career. They brought him in after he had all those shoulder injuries. He had no support. They completely rehabilitated his career, and they were building that program around him. And rather than go to them and say, hey, I got an opportunity, I have to take this Star deal, they sent a letter, a legal letter, just telling Club MX to go ahead and just do away with the contract. He's moving on. He didn't have the common courtesy to go tell them, these people who have done so much for him. That's where it sat wrong with me. I'm not saying he shouldn't have done it. I'm just saying that was garbage. And they didn't try it. That buyout was a last ditch effort where club said, no, we're not letting you out. You're going to have to buy out.
I don't know all the details. Maybe you know some more. From what he told me was about that. Of course, there's more into it than you and me know it. The way they go every day, and we are from a different culture. Like, we are more together. We are meeting each other now. We probably, if we hang out in the track, let's say here, I would invite you for a barbecue, probably in the weekend. Maybe in America, you guys are different. I'm just trying to explain that our culture is different. And I don't know the little details about stuff. I know that when he moved to the States and he first start to ride for Club MX, at the beginning, the mechanic said, you have to pay for me to work on the bikes, and then you had to help him. You had to help here to get help in the track and a lot of stuff. I don't know, maybe it's out of my place talking about that, but a lot of stuff was too much for a rider for the team Club MX, Maybe, I don't know, maybe there is something we don't know. That's what all I am trying to say.
Well, and that's what I was saying. Like, I saw it from both points of view. I'm a huge, believe it or not, I'm a huge Enzo Lopes fan. That kid is
Believe him. He's good.
I love watching him ride, seeing him get the podiums on that Club MX bike. I was ecstatic.
Yeah.
That was good for him. I was really excited, and I thought, wow, they got a guy that could actually win a race for Club MX. They were going all in on him, and it just, I like I said, I don't have a problem with the move. I have a problem with, in our culture, if you have a problem with somebody or you get an opportunity like that and you need to move on, you be a man and you go talk to them. And I would think in Brazil, it's probably the same, right?
Yeah, of course. I don't know. Maybe, like I said, maybe there is more into it than you and me know it. But what I can say is he's a good kid. He has a good heart. He's never talk bad about anyone. He just do his thing. Even here in Brazil, the fans get mad with him because he doesn't show as much what he's doing. He's not like Ken Roxon on Instagram showing everything, replying every hater or everyone. He's like Tomek. He doesn't say anything, and he gets beat in the keyboard warriors in Instagram for doing that. And also when he talks, like let's say the video after the WSX, he got hammered too because of that. So this is social media, actually. If you say one thing, you get criticized for doing that. If you say another thing, you get criticized for saying a different thing. So I don't know what to expect. I always tell him, do your thing and don't worry too much. Just focus in your writing. If you want help with social media, let's find someone to help. But that's how he wants to manage stuff. I don't know.
No, and I like that about Enzo Lopes. I love that when he talks, he seems genuinely authentic. He seems like a very sensitive guy. And I'm tight with his agent, Lucas Myrtle. I respect him so much. He's the best agent in the business. For Enzo to get hooked up with Lucas was probably the best career move he could have done. With that said, I still think the way they handled it with Club MX was a mistake. And I told Lucas that, and he was pissed at me. But I'm like, listen, I saw their side, I saw your side, and this is what I think happened between the two of you. I saw some of the contract clauses, and I thought it was bad. Now I understand these guys are under so much pressure, and I don't think Enzo handles that very well. I can't imagine being a pro. Could you? Well, you were kind of before the social media era. I can't imagine being that young and having this many people criticize every single thing you do, and especially with Enzo being a national hero in Brazil. I mean, I talked about it with Jet on one of my last videos. Now people are, I mean, judging what he gets in his coffee. I can't imagine that kind of pressure. But Enzo's got to be able to just say, you know what, I'm going to do me and not worry about it, because that's part of the game these days. You have to be able to do that.
Exactly. You have to shut it off. In my opinion, that's the way we live today. Everything, you talk about politics, you talk about writing, anything. Everyone has a different point of view. In my opinion, you only can control what you can control. I cannot control what you think about me, and you cannot control what I think about you. And that's all right. I just say, okay, let's agree to disagree, and that's it.
That's it. And that's all I was trying to do with Enzo and those guys. Like, listen, I see the way this went. I would have went to Star also, but I would have went to Club MX and said, I'm sorry, guys. Thank you for everything, but I have to do this. And I promise you, I know those guys, they would have been mad, but they would have understood. And then now the other thing that I really wanted to talk to you about is, so you made some claims that I was paid by Club MX to slander Enzo.
No, I didn't say that. I didn't say that. I'm just telling you that a lot of people, even the people from Brazil, a lot of guys criticize Enzo or criticize the media or whatever you do. You know, you get criticized. That's what I'm saying. And the same people, what I see that translate for you, you don't speak for Portuguese from what I know, but the same people that are translating to you try to make a big mess. And also they are looking for this niche that you like, which is the niche that gets views, which is more controversy. But that's okay. That's internet. But no, I didn't say that. And what I can tell you is what I'm saying. You like to explore this type of content, and that's okay. It is the way you're going. I just saw your views right before here. Let me see. You can go and try to log in Social Blade. You can see you get a lot of views by doing the niche you do. I do my content a little bit different. I rather focus in the good things about the riders, tell them what is going on. You explore more. Let's say, is someone banned for racing like Deegan? Is he banned by Lawrence? That's the way you go. And that's okay. It's the way you promote your channel. But I don't look that way. What I criticize about you, what you do is in my opinion, not the way I like to go about my videos. That's all I said.
Okay, that's fair. I'm cool with that. That's absolutely within guidelines. But saying when somebody translated, and it was obviously lost in translation, that Club MX paid me to slander him, because that is so not. If that's the case,
that's what I'm trying to say.
There's
people who like to explore these things and try to create something that where it doesn't have. You saw probably a cut from my videos, and it's not like this.
And just so you know, I don't try to focus on this negative stuff. I tell the story, and I find so many people in the media outlets here in the United States, they go by a certain narrative and what's, quote, good for the sport. I don't go with what's good for the sport. I go with what I see actually happening. And if I see negative stuff happening, I'm not going to hide it. I'm going to cover it how I see it. Sometimes I'm wrong, and I come back and I say, you know what, I had that wrong. I apologize. But like with Enzo, I felt really bad, because I do know, from the people around him, he's a very sensitive kid. And I know he had a really hard year last year with the arm injury. And like I said, it was not good for him. But he's so talented. Watching him ride a dirt bike, he could beat anyone in the world when his head's straight. And that made me sad.
I'm sorry to cut you. He did, I think, 2 best laps over Jet on Supercross in two rounds. And if it wasn't for Jet, he would be like 3 or 4 best laps. So he can go fast. I saw him. I was in England for the MXGP. He was cutting Ken Roxon for 7th or 8th. I don't remember properly. But on a stock engine bike with exhaust and suspension he brought from Brazil, a kit that he had here, was not the best equipment, and he was doing very good.
So let's talk about his World Supercross bike. So Rick Ware Racing, that's the only series they run. So what they do is they get bikes from other places and have them done. Obviously, Cody Schock is the Club MX rider. Club MX is going to give him exactly what he rides with over here in the United States. What did they do with Enzo's bike? Where did Rick Ware go? Tell me about why was he riding a stock bike?
I don't know. From what I know, the team paid the company to make his bike as good as anyone's bike. And the mechanic got there and the engine wasn't even open yet. So he got a second fuel injector and I think little parts, I don't know exactly what. And they brought to Australia. That's it. And he told me he tried to put in the bike and make as best as possible, but the bike was bogging. Like he tried to rev in the start and the bike wouldn't go. You can tell by the images. He's a big guy. He's my size, so 6'1", 6'2", and he's not that light on the bike. So when he jumped out of the gate, you can tell all the other bikes going. So wasn't the worst bike, but far from the best bike they could give to him.
So which company was it that did his motor and that?
I'd rather not say the name, but anyway, if you dig a little bit, you can find out.
Okay, well, we won't say their name, but you think they intentionally gave Enzo a slower motor?
I don't know. I think the team paid. Well, from what I know, let's go through facts. The team paid and they didn't got it. The engine was even open in the bench.
Yeah, I would be pissed too if I paid to have a motor done and it never was opened up.
Yeah, but that could be for any reasons. Let's say for just trying to make the devil's lawyer here, we call in Brazil. If they have a problem with an employee, I don't know, some family problem, the guy had to travel, I don't know. The fact is, the team paid for the race engine and they didn't even touch the engine. That's it.
Well, in America, that's called fraud, and you can go to jail for that. Like you
No, I'm not going that serious.
No, but if you pay for a service and you pay for a product and they don't send you that product, then they owe you. That's not okay. So I don't know.
But I'm just saying that sometimes there's problems. Let's say for a car dealer, you take your truck to change the oil and something happened and they don't change the oil by the time the oil was scheduled to be changed. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I'm not saying it couldn't have happened, but yeah, that's crazy. So let's go to Enzo, and I don't know much about, because he blocked me on Instagram. I don't get to see anything about Enzo anymore, which sucks because I really like Enzo and I really would like to say good things. I just never get to see them because he blocked me.
Don't worry, he doesn't post too much. Don't worry.
Okay, so he had this arm thing. So did he broke his arm and then he got some sort of weird injection, like what was it, a collagen injection or something into his arm for arm pump? What happened? Do you know?
Yeah, I was in the States for Daytona last year, and then he invited me to go see him train and start at the farm. And I stayed in his house for a couple of days. And he showed me he didn't have the strength to, like, he said, give me your hand and try to squeeze it. He doesn't have the strength at the time to squeeze, like, let's say the brake. He couldn't brake. So I saw him riding with all the riders from the team at the Supercross track. He could go, I don't know, 5 to 6 minutes, regular speed. And then I squeeze his hand and he doesn't have the strength, especially on the index finger, which is the brake finger. And we went to the farm. He went for a regular day of training. He started to ride with the other riders. And let's say about 6 minutes, he couldn't go anymore. He had the regular speed until that point. And then he stopped and he was really, really frustrated with all that, of course, about club and now the move to star, the greatest opportunity every rider in the world would have won, and he couldn't even ride. So he was very, very sad and going to a depression, if I can say correctly. And I even spoke a lot with Jeannie Carmichael's mother. And we spent, I don't know, like 20, 30 minutes talking about him. And it was a really bad spot to be in his shoes at the time. And then he came back to Brazil. He did a race, a motocross race. From what he told me, he could ride a lot better in motocross because you have more space and everything is easier. It's not like Supercross. Let's say, for example, in the start track, you go from the starting line and the opposite way. There was a double. They overshoot the double and landed seated on the bike into the burn. So that was really, really hard in the arms and the brakes. So that's the worst point I could see from the track. In motocross, you can flow a lot better. So he did a race in Brazil. He did good. He won the MX2 class one day, and the other day, I think he got third. And then he started to train for Supercross. And like I said, he doesn't say too much about what he will do. Even this race he did in Interlagos, which is the Formula One place, whereas the Formula One races in Brazil was in the middle of that track. I asked him, "Are you racing here?" He said, "No, no, no." And then I asked the owner of the team, "Is Enzo racing for you here?" He said, "No, no, the people are talking too much." But he did race. And then I kind of got a little mad with him because he didn't say. And when I asked it, he said no, and still he raced. And then he started to practice in a Supercross track. And I said, "How's it going?" He said, is it better, your arm?" He said it was doing better. He could ride a lot better, but of course, the track he built was not even close to a Supercross track, a regular one. But he started to feel better. In WSX, I think he did pretty good. And he was really, really upset with all the engine stuff that he couldn't ride at the first round. And I kind of showed him the positive side. I said, "No, man, you have to be thankful because you're not hurt. Your arm is doing better. We've been talking for, I don't know, 10, 20 minutes, and you didn't even said one thing about your arm. So that means your arm is better. You have the speed. You can run with Shane McArath, with all those guys, maybe even faster. And that's the positive side." He said, "Yeah, but it's hard. That's been my career. One time and everything is supposed to be good, then something happened." I said, "That's life. That's how everything goes." But basically, that's it. I try to synthesize everything for you guys. Maybe my English not that good, but I'm trying to explain.
No, your English is great. So what was the treatment that caused those problems? Is that common over there?
Sorry, I forgot to say it. No, he didn't do it in Brazil. He did in America. From what I understand, I don't know if the facts are right. There's a new treatment even in the first round of the motocross series. On the commercial, the guy from that clinic was in the commercial. I forgot the name of the doctor. Well, is the one who did it. The team proposed to him. He said yes. The team said yes. It was a new treatment with Botox. So it's a thing we put here, and like people do it. So you know what it is. And they're starting to do it in the arm. So everyone have a different spot on the arm that they put the Botox. So help the muscles relax and the muscle doesn't contract too much. And that helps with the arm pump. But he already had some surgeries in his arm. He did surgery for arm pump, and then he discovered was not the problem wasn't that, was something in his wrist on the carpal tunnel, I think is the name. And took a long time to figure out, almost a year. That's when he started the problems in JGR, I think. And anyway, maybe was something in his body, maybe the surgeries he did before, but this surgery, a lot of riders did it with Botox for some reason, mess up his arm. Even another rider from Brazil, from Yamaha Brazil, did the surgery and didn't help at all. So I don't know, maybe some people got screwed by that. That's any new treatment, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. For him, was a pity because he was training very good. He told me he was going fast. He loved the opportunity. The bike was a dream coming true. And then that happened. So he was living alone there. And he's a very sensitive guy. And he was really feeling. When I went to his house, I can tell you he was almost in depression.
That sucks. And that's a problem. And like I said, these athletes are put under amount of pressure that we never had to put. Like the older racers, when there wasn't social media, Like, I can't imagine what Jet is going through. He's facing a pressure like we've never seen before. Enzo's felt it, and I do feel for these guys, but it's the new world we live in. So I hope he can find a way to deal with it. Is he riding Star next year?
I have no idea. Like I said, even the race he did in Interlagos, I asked him, he said no, the owner of the team said no, and he raced. And then I asked him before a couple weeks ago, are you racing in America? Please tell me yes. And then he said, no. Sorry, are you racing for a Star? Because if you look on Racer X, I don't know if you saw the list, there's a list on the Star Yamaha. He's on that list. And I said, maybe it's not up to date, but you can see Pierce Brown name there. And then went viral in Brazil. So everyone was saying, okay, he's racing Star. And I sent to him, is this true? And he said, no. He said no. So I don't know. I really hope he races in America. And maybe he could do a different format, like kind of like Justin Brayton did, or even Dean Wilson will do it this year. Race Supercross in America, then come race Arena Cross in Brazil, which is 3 rounds only. So Alessi, Dean Wilson are racing this year. So maybe he could do that. And then move to WSX. So he would stay on Supercross the whole year, set up from the bike, the training, everything. Everything is more, is closer. And also he gets more time here in Brazil because he really misses being here. In that format of the year could work very well for him.
Well, I hope it works out, and I really want to see him on that Star bike. And I do think he's a guy with the kind of talent that could win races if his head's in the right space and his arms working fine. But yeah, well, Leandro, thank you for coming on. I just wanted to come on, and like I said, there was a lot of stuff flying around about accusations, and I'm like, listen, let me just talk to him. We'll straighten it out because I think I'm a pretty, I think I'm a pretty reasonable guy if you actually talk to me. So.
Yeah, the problem is with the internet, sometimes you don't talk with the person. Like you send me the message and said, let's do it, no problem. And like I said, I don't have a problem with your content. I don't like the way you do it, but I understand and respect to what you do. You choose this niche, you like to go on controversy, and that's okay. I just think in my niche, I do a little bit different, but that's okay. We need all types of content, and there is view for everyone.
And I don't necessarily just go after my thumbnails. Yeah, I absolutely use clickbait because on YouTube, the only way to use is if you have some crazy title. But if you actually watch my videos and what I'm saying, I don't think I'm nearly as negative as it appears from my thumbnail.
But let me make a question. Do you go and try to reach people? Let's say you're going to make a video about Jet. Do you reach him and try to talk?
Yeah. 100%. I reach out to agent and Club MX. I talked to both sides. That was with the Deegan thing. And I addressed that and I apologized for that about him not going to the OzX Open because it triggered me because I've been banned and I don't like cancel culture. So I should have reached out to their camp before I went with that, but I knew that the information was pretty accurate because I know like where I got it. But I reached out afterward, had a long talk with their camp and told them, hey, I won't ever do that in the future. Anytime I'm going to say something, it wouldn't have changed the information because it was exactly the way I still feel, but I would have at least let them know.
And do you go to the races usually?
Well, I used to until they banned me.
And can you tell me why they banned you?
They banned me because I talk about rider pay. So when, these riders, if you look at the stadium and you see that stadium's full and how much money the promoters make, and then you look at the payout for Supercross, it frustrates me that they won't give any money back. The fact that the tracks here in the United States are charged a significant amount. MX Sports comes in, they make about $1 million a round, and they pay back. Actually, they don't even pay. They make the track pay the purse. It's not. It's horrible. And I expose those things. That's why they banned me. Nothing else. Like the riders like me. I'm fighting for riders to get more money. I'm fighting for teams to get more money. I even want the promoters to make more money. And I think the only way to do that is to pay riders more so that you have a product. Like look at soccer, football, baseball. Anytime you include the players in a profit share, F1, what happens to that sport? It grows because they're all included. They all have to grow together for the sport to grow. If not, it will stay where it's at. That's why I got banned, and that's ridiculous.
But let me make a question. Jason McAmpine from Gypsy Tales, He's going after that too. And I met him at the SMX the first year in LA. Really cool guy. But why do you think he can talk to people about that? He's going after the prize at the GPs. He spoke about that with Prado and the podcast. He's also talking about how many rounds they should be in the year with Saxon and everyone. Why he's not banned in UR?
You would have to ask MX Sports and Feld that exact reason. But what it
Mhm.
came down to is I used to talk to Davey Coombs regularly. And I told him, why do
Yeah,
you do
he's a
it? He got mad, told me, you
Mhm.
don't get a press pass if you put this story out about Glenn Helen and why it really doesn't have a national. And I said, no, this is the facts. If it's facts, I'm putting it out there. You can't block me. And then we got into a shouting match, and he told me that I wasn't going to be able to go to the races. And I'm like, I don't care. I'm going to put out the actual facts. I'm not going to let you control my story.
Yeah, that's a pity because it's another perspective when you go to the race. Like I told you, I was at the Motocross of the Nations in England, and when you see the race, it's different. Even Steve Matthews always says that he doesn't go to all the races, but when he goes, he sees things differently. And I agree with him. It's hard because in the TV they only show a certain amount of the guys. But when you're there, you watch the practice, you know what's going on. For example, on the GPs and on the Motocross of the Nation on Saturday, Prado was killing. He was really, really impressive to watch. And Sunday, he didn't roll it good at all. He was burned, he said on another interview. But if I only watch on the TV, I wouldn't notice that. So I don't know. That's a shame. I don't know. Maybe it's something to think about. Here in Brazil is the same. Some people got bitter after they quit racing and start to not being aggressive, but same. Sometimes you have to be more, uh, let's say, go with the flow. If you say everything you want to say, if you go as hard as you can, even if you're right, sometimes in the future, that can bite you. And I go in my line of content. I think a lot like this. Maybe I know something about that kid, but if I say too much about that, sometimes some time in the future he will not give me an interview or he will not tell me something. I don't know. That's the way I do it. Just
No, and I appreciate that you do it that way. I don't. I'm going to tell people what I see. I don't hold anything back. And if someone has a problem with me telling the truth, that's their problem, not mine. If the
even
promoters,
Steve says something
fun,
about
fun.
it, like you did. He said he started the podcast for something he doesn't want. He doesn't want to be a writer's friend. He wants to tell what he sees, and I agree with him. I just go a little bit easier.
Hey, and you know what? We need all types. And yes,
Perfect.
I love going to the races. You see a lot more, but at the same time, I don't have to go to the races. I still talk to
Yeah.
all these people. I'm texting with teams and riders throughout the day. Like I have almost the same connections, and I can usually almost get more information sometimes when I'm not at the races. Yes, I would love to go to the races, and it sucks that they've banned me. I'm gonna put a disguise on and I'll be at some races. But yeah, I mean I still have all the same connections. It didn't really change much. But you're right.
And used to write. What is your background on racing?
I wasn't very good. I was really good on 80s. Do you remember Ezra Lusk, Damon Huffman?
Yeah, I
I
grew up
was
watching.
I was in that generation. Did the Race of Champions World Mini on 80s, battled with those guys. When I turned pro, I was going to go Supercross in 92, and I broke both my arms at a race in Colorado, and that essentially ended it. And I went to college, raced Supermoto. You know what that is? Supermoto
Yeah.
Street. I raced Supermoto when I got out of college. That was really fun. And I still rode local pro, tried to qualify for Glen Helen, broke my foot. But my essentially my racing career ended when I was 16 and I went a different route and worked inside the industry. So I have a
Cool.
different point of view than a lot of people because I was a racer, but then I
Mm-hmm.
also worked on the money side of it. And then I've got to see the college and real world and the way the world views it from the outside. So I think I have a different perspective than a lot of people.
And that's good because a couple of months ago, I did a podcast with Johnny Hopper. You know him, right?
Yep.
Cool guy. And we were talking about that because I got hurt in 2014. I almost died. I spent 28 days in the hospital, hurt my kidney, my lungs. And also I did with Coach Rob the same day. And he was telling me he got bitter after a little while. And that's what I'm asking, because sometimes we are, the sport is cruel, right? If you're winning, everything is good. If you're not winning, not so good. And I got bitter, actually. I spent 3 years without watching anything for motocross. And then I started to ride again, and then my love came back. That's what I'm asking. Do you still ride?
I had knee replacement a year ago or 2 years ago, and I haven't ridden since then. I rode when I went to Thailand, but no, but yes, I love riding. It's something I thoroughly enjoy. I'm not bitter at all. That's the thing is, I got bitter when I was working in the industry and I started doing some media part-time, and I got in there and I saw how they were manipulated by the promoters to only tell certain things. And I'm like, that's garbage. That is absolute garbage that you guys are controlling the media like that. And I said, I'm not going to do that. And that's how I started to go sideways with them, is when I started telling them, like, listen, this is what I saw. If you don't want me to talk about this, then you shouldn't do it. Don't get mad that I talked about it.
I understand that's something spark on you. To me, when I started to do content for the YouTube was in 2018, because Brazil, a lot of people don't know, but it's a really huge country. It's the fourth country in the world. Size matters. About size, he's the fourth in the world. And the place I live is down south, is more European. In the north, it started to discover motocross, let's say around 15 years ago. And the people doesn't have the knowledge on the sport and stuff. And then I started to do the content explaining AMA, Supercross, and the backside of the things, like how the riders train and everything. I try to put outside look from the people here who doesn't have the knowledge or never went to a Supercross race. And then I started to give a little information about riding technique and stuff and try to educate people, because you guys have a lot of that in the States, a lot of magazines, Vital Max, I don't know, Racer X. There's a lot of guys, a lot of Johnny. You can say there's more than 10 meters easy in a race. And here's not as big as you guys have, but it's growing a lot. Even the guy from WSX, I forgot his name, he did a search on Supercross around the world. And the second country in the world was Brazil. So the first country, of course, America, and the second one, Brazil. So we have a lot of audience here from Supercross. That's when I start to dive a little bit into the riders' perspective and how the promoters go about the races, prize money, and everything. So I kind of focus on my content on that.
Well, let me ask you this. So you were kind of critical of me being banned. Like I felt like you said, like you were saying that like I did something wrong. So
No, I was just asking because I heard on, let's say 1 or 2 Pulp Max ago, I kind of noticed they were talking about you, but I didn't know why you got banned. So before saying that, I'd rather ask you.
yeah, that's what's funny is they act like I did all these crazy things. All I did was tell them, no, I'm not going to change my content for you. That's what got me banned. And if that's what gets me banned, I'll get banned every single time, because you know, that's the way you keep promoters honest, is by talking about things. And if people don't know that riders don't make any money, nobody's going to say anything, and they're going to get away with keeping all the money. And I'm not, but the funniest thing is they think I don't want the promoters to be rich. I absolutely do. If they, yeah, I beat this to a dead horse on my channel, so I'll let it go. But yeah, I do it because I want the entire industry and sport to grow. And I know it from the business side by working, with a lot of the brands that pay all the money to the riders, because riders can get rich, but it has nothing to do with like the sport. Every other sport, like soccer players, soccer's huge there, right? Their teams have to pay them a significant amount to play for the team, right?
Mm-hmm.
Could you imagine if those teams went to the soccer player and said, hey, well, we're just going to give you a big platform and then you can play soccer, but we're not going to pay you. You just go get your own sponsors. That's what our sport is.
But yeah, this kind of happens on the GPs. The 5 to 10 guys maybe make money, and the rest pays to race. Unfortunately, that's how it is. Yeah.
When the series was getting going, they had to do that. There wasn't money available. But now, as it's grown and they've got these huge multi-million-dollar TV deals, sponsor deals, they never readjusted that thing. So the teams who were making a sacrifice to be a part of it, have a platform, now they're just free labor.
Yeah, I can say one thing. Like I said, I hear it all from the States, all the podcasts. I really like Jason. I really like Steve. I listen to them a lot. But what I think there is something into that. I think it comes from a good place in your heart. What you're telling, you want the sport to grow, like you just said. But he just did what you're saying you got banned for. He went after the promoters from Glen Halley. He brought them to the podcast. He brought David Coombs. He got all sides. So he was poking every side of the story. And he got, let's say, the truth. What I'm trying to understand, why you got banned and he did not. What happened? That's what I'm asking you. Why that happened?
The difference between me and Jace was Jace just had them on and talked about it. I actually researched, got the contracts, figured out the money, and came out with really hard facts to show exactly how much money was available for the riders. And when I showed that information, if you go back, I've done videos where I show how much they charge the tracks, how much money comes in, how much sponsors pay. I just showed the facts, and they did not want that out there.
I understand. Maybe he gave the opportunity for them to speak. I see what you're saying.
I gave the opportunity too. Davey Coombs called me screaming at me. I said, come on and talk about it. He's like, no. Okay, that's your choice. If you don't want to come on and tell me why you're not sharing this money and have this debate with me, then I'm going to run with it, because they're welcome. I have an open invite. Anytime any of them want, like with you, there were some issues, I reached out, come on the show. Same thing. Any of them, at any moment, I would welcome Davey Coombs, anyone from Feld, come on my show. Tell me a legitimate reason why I'm banned. That's not, you're just hiding information. That's it. I challenge them. They won't.
I understand. Yeah, that's a pity, because also the races and the sport needs all type of media, like we just spoke about it. And I really hope that that got figured out, and you can go all the races, and maybe some time from now, like Johnny, he pivot all his content, he changed it. He was going more like your style, in my opinion, and then he changed completely to riding technique, showing stuff. I don't know, sometimes we kind of go to different ways, and that's okay. But I can tell you something: if you believe in what you're doing, if you in your heart, you know you're doing the way you should do it, that's it. Just keep going.
That's it. And I saw what Johnny did, and Johnny had to follow their narrative. That same narrative I told you they got mad at me for not following. They said, Johnny, follow this and we'll give you a pass. That's bullshit. You shouldn't have to do that. Media should be able to call what they see. They shouldn't be making up stories and telling people, don't say that, don't say this. If it happened, it's part of the damn sport.
But would you say that the promoters, or the, I don't know, Feld or whatever, MX Sports, they told you you cannot say this and this and this?
Specifically, they told me not to talk about the Glen Helen issue or the amount of money and the revenue splits. They specifically told me that stuff. And I said, but I'm, as a journalist, I got this information. I didn't steal it. I got it through journalistic work. So if I have this information and it's out there, why can't I talk about it? And then you talk about Steve and all those guys. Do you know they're all employed by the same person that owns the outdoor series? MX Sports owns Racer X. So they pay all the media, and they have controlled the narrative in our sport for the longest time. So they can make it look like they're these saints that just love it. They're just happy to put races on. Meanwhile, I've seen their finances, and they're raking in the dough, and they're not allowing riders and teams to grow with them.
So when you ran these videos exposing what you just said about all the promoters and stuff, how was the reaction?
Well, people were shocked. They didn't know this information. It's not something that's ever been told really before. Everybody thinks you look at the pits. If you walk through the pits at a Supercross and you see those giant rigs, you have to think, okay, yeah, these guys do pretty good, right? They make some good money, but you know how little Enzo makes. And now I'm not saying, and that's the thing, is they act like I'm trying to take money out of their pocket. I'm not. What I want them to do is take some of the new revenue, the TV contracts, the new gambling sponsorship that's coming in, and do a profit sharing with the teams and riders so they can all grow together. And, you know, and they'll all make more money. That's the thing, is they think I'm trying to make them less. I want them to make more. But these riders, you see what you raced, you know what we go through. And yes, we choose to do it, and that's our choice. But same with football players, basketball players, soccer players. Yes, just because you like to do this doesn't mean you shouldn't get paid when it's successful.
But did you give suggestions? If I understood correctly, you said you gave, right? Let's say Jason, every time he gets in a podcast and he starts to talk with the other person, he always said, maybe we could try this and that. Maybe that's the approach he gives is more open. I feel like when he bring writers to his podcast, he let the writer be himself. He doesn't like have the narrative or whatever. He says always in the podcast, he doesn't even have a script. He just goes, maybe that's the approach that maybe you should try. Okay, I can give you this idea to do this, I can give you this idea to do that, and let the person feel like you want to make everything better. Even what you just said, you try to do that, but maybe, I don't know, the context of the argument or whatever. But what I'm trying to say that he's doing something right because they are listening to him, not even in the America, but in the GPs also. He's studying the how you say, studying the pod the right way. That's one thing we should learn, in my opinion.
Hey, good for Jace. He does a good job over there. I got nothing negative to say about him. I got my style. You have to be who you are. If I try to be like, then I'm not who I am. We are all different people. You have to be you. I have to be me. And yeah, I absolutely listen. And if you watch my video, you'll know every single time I bring up a problem, I offer solutions. And I always offer an option. And I try to look at things from everyone's point of view, your point of view, their point of view. If you don't look at it from the full perspective, I mean, how many times have I listened? Like, I listened to people. I changed, like Deegan. I didn't think Deegan was going to be a good pro. Of course, I was wrong on that. The kid's amazing. We have opinions. We learn. I'm not the smartest guy in the world, but I'm always up to listen. I'm not here hard-headed saying, no, my way is the only way. No, I'm absolutely willing to listen, but I'm also not going to bend and compromise because someone just asks me and tells me the way it should be. You know, media should be free and tell what it is. If you can logically convince me, no problem. I will absolutely change. But if you want to threaten me, that's not going to work.
Perfect. I understand what you're saying. Yeah, you're perfectly right. Free speech is up there for use. And I think if you believe, like I said, if you believe in your heart, that's the way, keep going. For sure, you're doing good. You're growing your channel. I can see right now in the views here.
Well, and the other thing too is like, if they really just to ban me, like that shows you how wrong they are. Like they can't even tell you what I've actually done. Like literally by banning me, they've proved that they're censoring and doing all these things. Like, because like I said, I have not actually done anything. They sent the FBI to my house.
Really?
Oh yeah, they sent the FBI to my house because I said I was going to go to the Vegas race. And what happened is somebody in my comments section talked about guns, and I did like a laughing, you know, and so they called the FBI. That they try and intimidate. They're almost like gangsters in that sense. And if you look at the history of Feld, who runs Supercross, they ran the circus, and they've got a history of hiring people to harass journalists. And then now you combine them with these people from West Virginia, Davey Coombs. They're also gangsters who've done stuff at Loretta Lynn's. The list of people they've messed with and threatened throughout the years is so long, but nobody's stopped and said, no, screw you. I don't really care. I'm not going to bend to your techniques, and I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing, and you can kiss my ass.
Yeah, that's some serious accusation, right?
I can prove all of them. If you want, look up the circus, and you can take a look. Kenneth Feld hired a former CIA agent to harass a reporter, this female reporter who did a story on their dad about some of his transgressions. And they followed her for 10 years. They would flatten her tires. They hired a bodybuilder to break her marriage. That's the people that run the series. That's the people you're telling me, oh yeah, just go along. Like, no, they're not good people. And they're not doing it the right way. They threaten, and they've always gotten their way that way. But I'm not going to bend, and they can't mess with me because I don't really care.
And you got proof of all of that? Because
yes, I've got proof of all of that.
Oh my God.
That's actually 60 Minutes did an expose on Feld for that. I got all that information. Just drop a Google, Kenneth Feld, CIA. You'll see like 5 stories pop up. It absolutely happened.
And how was the backlash of that?
What do you mean?
How people react to that?
They went, wow, these guys are crooked. But that's who runs the sport.
I'm not doubting you by any means, but in my way of view things, I always hear your side I try to hear the other side, and then I get my conclusion. That's what I'm doing. That's the way I look at things, but that's hard. Yeah, definitely.
Well, and when I talk about all this stuff, I
Mhm.
put the information in there. Like, I find the lawsuits that are available. When I talked about the money, I showed you the contracts. I showed you the amounts. I showed all that stuff. I don't do it based off of speculation. I don't do
Yeah.
it from a 10,000-foot view. I show you exactly what I'm talking about. I showed links to the articles where it said this about them.
And how the talk about the tracks, I kind of remember from Jason's podcast about the Glenn Hallen, and he said he called all the promoters from the series, and they were making really good money, especially Redbud. And when you did this video about the track and how much they have to pay and everything, the owners of the tracks, the promoters, they said anything about being profitable because they're doing every year almost the same races.
So they do make a considerable amount of money. They do okay. And these tracks rely on that money they get, which is a small portion of the national. They get a small portion of that, but that is enough to keep them going for the year. They need it. They are afraid to speak out because MX Sports, as soon as you speak out and talk anything that could cross them, they pull your national. Look how many tracks. Glenn Helen spoke out. They're gone. That's what they do. So these guys are scared. Where do you think I got all that information, Leandro? These
Yeah.
people who are telling you, oh, yeah, we're doing fine. They say that publicly, but trust me, I've got, where do you think I got all this information? They tell me what's going on. So they're like, listen, could you please put this out there, but don't attach me to it because I don't want to lose our race.
It to me is strange because it's really hard to be in business in any country. I can say that being a stand-up guy, like working correctly, doing everything good, is already hard. So when you do this kind of stuff, you're telling me it's hard to me to digest that they're doing something. I don't know. You feel what I'm saying? It's really hard to.
Listen, I 100% agree with you. It's hard because you're probably a decent person. So you imagine somebody doing this and it sounds insane. It really does. But it sounded insane to me. And it took me a while to go like, holy crap, are you serious? As I dug in, I was like, oh my gosh, are you kidding me? Then I looked at the AMA and saw how the AMA operates. Have you watched any of those videos?
No, I didn't see the AMA videos. I'm curious about what about the CIA? I will research on that.
Yeah, Kenneth Feld's CIA. I'll send you a link. There's like a whole bunch of stories.
But you see what I'm saying? It's really hard to keep it together for so long. Like David Coombs Sr., he started Lorena Lins. He started all the motocross scene in America. To be honest, it's hard to me to believe that a person like that. I met David. I spoke with him in LA, the same race. He spent, I don't know, 20 minutes talking with me. Of course, that's a briefly talk. It's really a short talk, but he was really nice. One of the nicest guys that I spoke. Him and Jamie from Vital, like they don't know me. I came as a media from Brazil, from this website Show Radical, and we started to talk, and he really gave me attention. A lot of people, they just don't look at you and just, I don't know, say something really short. And they really took the time to talk to me. And that really got me because it's not usual, right? And when you say these kind of things, it's kind of hard to me, but that's why I said I will research.
It is tough. And I will say this, Davey Coombs is one of the nicest, most fun guys to have a conversation with. He is electric. When you talk to him, you feel like we're best friends right off the bat, right? That's how he's able to get away with the things that he is, because he is so good and personable. That's what's scary.
Do we have time to go to another subject, or we have to go?
I got time. What do you got?
No, I'm okay about time. But that's one thing I wanna talk with people who has knowledge in the sports, and I believe you do. What is the point that changed the rider to be a good rider to a great rider? For example, I'll make a context for you. I used to race the FIM World Junior. I went in Spain in 2001. I raced against Milceps, Hepler, Davalos, and I raced a lot more times Davalos before in Latin America Championship, and I was winning. Even the guy from Raleigh, Pablo Quintanilla, I don't know if you ever heard about him. He was at this race. I came from third. I crashed and won both motos. So what I'm trying to say, I was a better rider, not as good as Dave, of course, Gorky and these guys, but I was top 5 to 7 in this FIM race. Davalos, he crashed or something. He didn't even qualify for the final. And then he came in 2003 to Brazil. I was talking about 2001. Then he came to 2003 because in that race in Spain, he met Dave Millsaps, and then he went to live with him and started METF. But what I'm trying to say is something clicked from the time we were racing the 85s to when he got to the big bikes. And even with Enzo, for example, he used to beat Sexton, he used to beat Shimoda, Hunter Lawrence. There's a video from Loretta Lins. He's fighting to the last corner with Justin Cooper. But then something clicked and all these guys start to go really, really fast. And I don't know, you never seen them anymore. Why do you think, what is the thing that make these riders get so fast and so good when they turn pro, let's say it like that?
Oh my goodness, you're asking me a question that I had the answer to. I could find all the top pros, and I don't think anyone ever knows this. That's why so many amateurs are, really good, and then people sign them and they don't develop. I don't know. I think the key is not to do too much as an amateur and to keep learning and developing all the way through into your pro career. I don't know what honestly, that's crazy. I wish I knew. I would be a billionaire if I could figure that out. What makes you great and what makes you not great. And I think it's the little things. Because if you look at a race and you see the top guys, they look like they're so much better than 10th place, but it's really not. It's little tiny things. Are they putting in the extra time? Are they focusing? And are they mentally strong? And I think it's a lot of it is the mental game. Some people get to a certain point and your physical skills can take you, but you also have to have this mental determination. Like Deegan, he believes he's going to beat anyone in the world on any day, and he almost wills it to happen. Carmichael, same way. I don't know how or where that comes from, but that would probably be one of the biggest factors. It's just a self-belief. But honestly, I don't know, man. That's a good question. What do you think?
I don't know. It's the same thing of you. I think the main thing to me is knowledge. Let's say, for example, I have a son. He's 6 years old. He doesn't like motocross like I did. And but every time he rides, I take him to ride every Saturday. I almost can predict when he's gonna fall or something will go bad, and I can stop it. That's knowledge. I grew up since 3 years old, riding 5 times a week in a bike. My dad used to race, my brother used to race. So you kind of get the sense of something's going wrong. That's one side. The other side, you know what he's feeling. You have the knowledge to say, try to squeeze more your foot, use your elbows up to push inside the handlebar. The little things you can say, right? You can say, don't jump this, the bike is kicking. If you go faster, you're gonna fall down. Try to move your chest a little bit back. That's knowledge. And to us here in South America, we didn't have that. If my dad knew what I know now, I would be a good rider in the world, for sure. So to me, it's knowledge, but I also have the mental side you just said. You have to, in my opinion, you have to believe that you are better than everyone in the starting line. You have to look left and right and say, I got these guys covered. But also, you cannot be arrogant. That's the thing. And that's my next question for you. What is the limit between confidence and, how you say,
Arrogance.
arrogance? Yes.
It is a fine line, and whenever you're confident, it all. Gosh, see, that is a tricky one. It is so tricky because you can find someone who will tell you, "I'm just confident," and then you talk to two people. One says, "Oh, they're arrogant," and the other one says, "Oh, they're confident." It's how that person portrays you. So I don't think you can worry about whether people think you're arrogant or confident. I think you just need to be confident in yourself. And if someone finds you arrogant, that's their problem. You just do your thing. And I think if you do that, you're better off. But man, it is a fine line. And sometimes you almost have to have a little bit of arrogance and you almost have to have a little bit of swagger. And that, like, you look at all the great champions, they know they're the best and they feel it. And I don't know how you can't, like, yes, they sometimes act humble, but they know inside they are the badass. So I don't know, man. It's a tough one. And that's why I forgive a lot of confidence and arrogance. And, when guys are too cocky, because I'm like, you know what? You kind of have to do that. Like, look at fighters. Fighters they're about to go in a cage and fight somebody. Of course, they have a bit of arrogance and confidence. They believe, both guys go into that believing they're going to beat the other guy, but only one wins. So it's tricky, but I don't have a problem with it, and I'm okay with a little bit of arrogance if it's somebody trying to project their own confidence.
Yeah, here in Brazil, people don't value people value too much being humble. Don't get me wrong, that's very important. Is about your character. But when they come to the race, they can talk to the riders more than in America or the GPs. So they're in the race to have fun with their friends, drinking beer and whatever. Then you're really focused on your bike. Maybe you crash at the practice, maybe your bike's not working well, maybe you're not riding good. And they come all laughing and they see you at the track and they think they are in the same vibe. We are really focused. And if you don't deliver the same attitude they are expecting from you, they call you arrogant. And that's a thing in America. When I used to live there, when I was younger, you guys don't think too much. Like you just said, okay, if you are like that, okay, it's your problem. But that leads me to another thing. Let's say Chad Reed, he would never say, oh, this guy was better than me tonight, or whatever. He would never say that, because deep inside, he always believed that he was the best rider. And that's the thing. To be as good as he was, he had to really believe he was the best. So some people don't deal with that too good, don't gel with that. But I can separate the person from the rider. Let's say, for example, in Formula One, Verstappen, a lot of people hate him for what he says after the track and stuff, but he's amazing driving the car, right? I really like Barsha. A lot of people hate him for his attitude, but I think he's a showman. He's a great rider. I love to watch him race. I always tell people about that in my videos, and I get backlash for that. Oh, he's done and whatever. And I always say, man, he's aggressive. Have you ever watched the 90s motocross? There's a old video, I cannot remember, was Kedrovsky and Bradshaw going at it and almost killing each other, right? That's motocross. We are not talking about MotoGP where you cannot touch each other. But the thing is, you guys do better with arrogance than we do here, for example.
Yeah, and honestly, if Chad Reed doesn't believe he's going to win, why should anyone else in the world believe he's going to win?
Exactly.
I'd be like, you've already lost if you don't believe that. You're right, though. That same confidence and arrogance, when you get off the track into normal life, it can be detrimental, and it can really piss people off and put people away. But in racing and in sport, it's amazing. And that's why a lot of guys at the end of their careers, when they're done, sometimes they struggle getting along with people because they're so used to just getting their way and just bulldozing over.
We become selfish as a rider, because I can tell, in my perspective, because everything was about me. My dad used to have money when I grew up, like to give everything we need. We went to the States to race, bought 6 bikes at one time, and always had the tracks. I used to have 7 tracks, one with light system, another one with water system. I used to have a dozer. I used to have a gym in my house, mechanics, motorhomes, everything. So I grew up, let's say, being spoiled. So everything was about me, especially when I got professional, about my career. So what is best for me to eat? What is best for me to train? What is best for me to sleep? What is best for me? Always me. And then I got hurt, and then I quit racing. Okay, and then I was regular guy, and then I got married, and I started to notice that I was really selfish, because it was everything for me. And that leads me to another topic. For example, a lot of people talks about Digan, right? He's a great rider. He's amazing to watch. And people say he's cocky. I honestly think he doesn't care. But I ask you guys that are listening to me, how you cannot be cocky, like Hurley's, for example, even Ken Roxon, Okay, he's different now than he used to be when he was younger, when I met him in Brazil in the GPs. They grew up being the best. Everything was handled to them. The latest Oakley collection, the latest gear, the best bikes. Everything's like this. You are winning everything. Girls, money. How you don't get arrogant or even cocky? How you don't get that? I don't blame them. I understand that. What happened? Maybe when they
I,
get older, they will change. I don't know.
I have no idea how you wouldn't be like that if you're given everything. And I'll be honest with you. So I was pretty good on mini bikes, and I felt a little bit of that. So I kind of was raised a little bit like you were talking about, like I was going to be a top pro, and that was it. And everything in my life was geared towards making me into a top pro until I got hurt, and it was all pulled from me. And I'm like, wait a second, everybody doesn't get this. Everybody isn't focused on me. What's going on? It's this weird thing that you go through, right? And every rider, even the top pros, when they retire, they go through this, and it's difficult. But yeah, I don't know how you couldn't be. And like I said, that's why I think I'm so forgiving of that when riders are cocky or arrogant, because that's what it takes right now. When your career's over, maybe go to therapy and deal with it, because it's going to be an issue to undo that. But at the time, go for it.
But knowing all that, Cooksey, coming back from the beginning, our talk here, knowing how hard it is, how underpaid we are, uh, by the risk, of course, the risk is much greater than the reward. That's why I quit racing in Brazil. Knowing all that, don't you think we need to say what we believe, what we think we need to be said? But don't you think it's even harder to be hard in the comments and the videos and the content we create? Don't you think we need to remember that, how hard it is to be there? I don't know if I
Yeah.
explained
Yes.
correctly.
No, you're absolutely right. I would never say anything in a video that I wouldn't say to your face. I stand by that. I don't know, I'm a bit of an abrasive personality. I don't know if you noticed that or not, but
Tell by
I
the videos.
yeah, but that's who I am. And I'm not trying to be a jerk, and I was not trying to be mean to Enzo when I did any of that stuff. But I didn't like the way he handled it, and I thought that he screwed over Club MX, and I might have been a little harsh on him, and I probably wish I could take some of that back, knowing how things affected him this last year and the depression. That makes me feel really bad, and I would never want that on any rider, especially Enzo, who I know people that know him really close, and he's a great kid, and I want him to succeed. That's the thing, is I've always been an Enzo cheerleader. That was the first time I'd ever been critical of Enzo. Other than that, I've been telling him ever since the JGR days, when I was like, this guy's good. I don't know what it is about him, but he's got that talent. He does those special things on the bike that only a few people can do. And if he can put it together, he can be one of those guys. So yeah, I do think of that, and I do my very best to tell things the way I see them without hurting someone's feelings. But like I said, sometimes I go over the line, and I will absolutely come back and say, I'm sorry. I'm a human being too. But yeah, I don't
we are here on the internet every day, right? So it's easy to people, easy for people to criticize sitting on the couch, right? Even my brother sometimes criticizes me, you shouldn't say that, maybe think twice about saying that, but we are exposing ourselves here. So sometimes we're gonna say something we regret it, and that's okay. We are humans, like you said. I always compliment Jace because I really like the podcast he runs. In his podcast with Chad Reed, he was over the line plenty of times. He even said in his podcast after that, maybe I went over the lines, and that's okay. That's something people should understand. It's not easy to come here, and we are in a talk like talking right now. Maybe I can say something you don't like, and that's okay. That's how it is, right?
Yeah. Well, that's why I had you on the show. Like, there was some stuff I was like, wait, this guy's saying what about me? Let me bring him on here. Let's talk about it. Because if I truly believe that we all say things that we probably don't mean to a point, and then they get magnified on the internet. I truly believe if most people are good people and they want the best for people, and if they could just sit down and talk and listen, and not just talk, but listen, like I listen to you, I understand. I have a different perspective of you now, knowing about your race career, knowing how close you are with Enzo. So yeah, I'm cool with it. Like, it helps me understand you as a human being, and we can get along.
Yeah, and to be honest with you, I have a different perspective of you two now because we've been talking, I don't know, for an hour. And that's what I said on the beginning. I listen to you, but I want to listen to the other side. To be honest, I had some feelings against the content you create, but like I said, that's okay. That's the niche you're going after. But I can tell you something now. I'm leaving when we stop recording. I'm leaving with a different opinion because we have an open heart conversation, and that's what is so cool about being online. Also, I never would meet you probably, but from maybe something bad came out something good. That's awesome.
Yeah, no, I like it. And I was like, oh man, what's this guy? Is he just going to get on there and be mad and say that I'm getting paid by Club MX? Because I would never take money to destroy a kid. And I look at someone like Enzo, who left his country to come over here to chase his dream. The last thing I want to do, especially, is trash someone like that. But at the same
Yep.
time, I felt like that was handled poorly, and I had to talk about it because I also think that Club MX does a really good job at putting stuff together. I know you have issues with them, and so does Enzo. Every team has internal issues, and if we focus on every single one, I just talked to I talked to Enzo's people and I talked to Club, and I came up with a conclusion on what I thought happened, and that's all it was. Is my opinion of the two sides, and I went with it. But I sure hope Enzo gets it together. I would love nothing more than to see that dude win some Supercrosses this year, and maybe
Yeah.
unblock me from Instagram because I would like to see anything he does. Because like I said, I like Enzo.
Okay, last thing. What we as media, what do you think we can do to help, I don't know, not just promote the sport like we are doing to bring information, different perspectives for the fans who are watching us, but what we can do for the riders, because we have a say in Brazil, they are the clowns from the circus. So we need to help the riders. Believe me, America is amazing with the riders, like the MA series. We got much worse here in Brazil, believe me. But every championship can be better. And the hard part is, I am a event promoter here in Brazil, like I said in the beginning. So I always try to look to my events and ask myself what I am not seeing. So what do you think they are not seeing about the AMA series?
They are not seeing how important the riders are. Right now, they see the riders as, okay, if these guys don't want to take this little tiny bit of money that we're paying them, we'll get new riders because they're lining up to be competing in our series. We promote them and we make them stars, so they're expendable. What we need to do is make sure that they know they are not expendable. They are extremely talented people who've dedicated their lives to this. And now, if the promoters weren't making money and they were struggling to get by, I wouldn't say a word. But since I've seen the numbers and I know how much money they're making, I don't understand why they won't invest in their product. So you look at KTM right now, they're in big financial trouble, right? So
Mhm.
if KTM and the other brands all of a sudden had a financial collapse, riders have no possibility of ever making money racing because there's not enough purse money. My point is there's enough entertainment value that if they shared some of those entertainment dollars, God forbid all those teams go away, the people can still go racing and make enough while they find another sponsor. I'm not saying they shouldn't go get sponsors and stuff. I'm saying the sport will still survive. It gives it a stronger business plan to survive any sort of economic. Right now, it is 100% based on these brands paying the riders or they don't go racing.
I understand. And I don't know, maybe some type of revenue. I don't know for the riders here in Brazil. When I was younger, we used to get paid to go to the races. This arena cross that Dean Wilson, Mike Alias is racing, it grows so much now. It's really like a supercross race. It's really good. And on the beginning, when the promoters were starting the event, they used to pay for us to go race. That was one way of making money. But you can do a lot of stuff now, even YouTube, right? You can see Dean Wilson's channel, you know how much you make with YouTube. There's different ways. Logan Carnell doing stuff with OnlyFans. So he went outside of the usual sponsors, but it's really, really hard because usually when we ask for money as a writer, it's like you are begging in anywhere. It's hard to get sponsors. But I don't know, people also have to show they're different. I always was outspoken. Let's say Daniel Blair, right? He got picked for how you say, to commenting the race, because he was the first one to go and do the interview. So he put himself out there. So the riders should do that, but it's not easy for the whole business, to be honest. I always try to think why Supercross didn't explode even in America, right? If you compare to NFL, NBA, is nothing. Even the greatest sponsors that JDR had in the team, he couldn't bring to the Supercross. I don't know what we need to do to maybe make the riders the really stars of the event. You know, maybe Netflix, like they did with Drive to Survive on Formula One. I don't know. Jason,
Leandro,
yeah, I don't know.
I have been screaming this forever. These guys are amazing characters and their stories go through the roof. Now, if I watch a Supercross and I've never watched it before, you bring somebody that's brand new, it's really cool for about 20 minutes, seeing how fast they go, how they jump. But then it's just a bunch of bikes going around a track. But if I tell you, Ken Roxon's ex-girlfriend is married to Cooper Webb, wait, what? There's the backstory. They don't like us talking about that, but it's the truth. That is the story. We need to tell the true stories of these guys, not just what they want out there, but the entire story. I brought my girlfriend to the race, and I was like, listen, once I told her that story, she was enthralled. She watched every lap, and she's watching Ken, and she's watching Cooper, and it was really paying attention. That is what we need to do, like what Formula One did with the Netflix thing, and stop with this controlled narrative of only put stuff out there that's good. Like, that's where I go the different direction, and I say, nah, we can put out the bad stuff too, because it's human. We're all, if you show me all good stuff, I'm going to call you a liar because I know there's bad stuff somewhere. Like, it scares me when somebody does all good, no bad, because trust me, we're not all good.
Yeah, definitely. We are humans, right? Yeah, of course. The drama also always sells, right? You can tell in the MMA fights and UFC, right? When someone goes there and slap each other in the face. Now it's getting kind of old, but when they first started, let's say, for example, I don't know if you follow MMA, Anderson Silva was one of the greatest fighters. When he was fighting against Charles Sonny, Sonny said something about his wife, that she would cook for him after he lose, and that mess with people here really, really bad. I can tell you, if he came in Brazil, he probably would get shot. I can tell you that. But he pulled so much, he over delivered the promotion by 10 times. I don't know what people usually do. So when the fight was happening, I believe I remember where I was, who was with me, because the whole Brazil was watching. So I understand what you're saying. The drama always sells some controversy. I just think this talk like we are having here, this type of videos, in my opinion, is more productive for the sport in general. I never, let's say, some accident happen really bad, some rider dies and stuff like that. I always pay my dues, pay my respect, but I never go, oh, look the video and post all this stuff. That's the way I do in my channel, you know. I always try to put the good stuff from the riders. You can say something like I said, okay, maybe it happens. I don't need to tell you who was the guy who did the engine, for example, the story we're talking about with Enzo, to expose the guy, because I don't know, in the future, maybe the same company can help Enzo again or whatever. The thing maybe I could suggest for you, maybe
But
go.
hold, let me play devil's advocate on that one. So
Of course.
this let's say some company, and I'm not going to name the company because I don't know what happened with Enzo, but hypothetically, let's say they did screw him over. We need to mention their name, because that's not acceptable. It's not acceptable to screw someone over. If you mention their name, they won't do it next time. And you call them out, and you do not allow evil to exist anonymously. If you want to be an a-hole,
yeah, I understand what you're saying, and you're not wrong. But the thing is, even America, as big as it is, the industry is really small. So unfortunately, it is like this. I live in a country where the motocross scene is way, way smaller than America. So you kind of have to navigate. You can say stuff like you always do, but I kind of have to navigate until what point do I expose everything. That's the way I go about it. I know you go different. I know, but you know, was the company A that did this, blah, 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 blah. Then the next time that guy need help, he won't get it. Understand?
No,
So
I get that, and the guys like Enzo kind of have to walk a line. I don't have to walk a line, so I will
mhm.
gladly
Yeah.
expose any crap, and I don't want. I
Mhm.
think we'll have more good people in the sport if they know if they do dirty stuff, it's going to get out there.
I understand, and you have your point of view. Enfim, sorry, I said Portuguese. You can go the way you want, and for sure, everyone is entitled of have their own opinion and stuff. So that's awesome. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
about.
And I appreciate you, and I appreciate you being critical because it makes me question, okay, am I doing this right? And I value people who question what I'm doing because it makes me have to really look inside myself and say, okay, am I really doing the right thing or am I just whining? Am I just being negative or am I actually doing anything positive? And I have
And
to ask myself that
sometimes,
question.
and sometimes it comes out the way we don't want it.
Mhm.
That happens in my videos. Sometimes I said stuff, even when I spoke about you, maybe it went out the way you listen, the way they translated for you, not the way I wanted to say. Maybe that can happen on anything. The other day, a rider that used to race with me, he said, "Man, you were comparing me with Vince Freeze and stuff like that." I said, "Yeah, he took me out, but that wasn't the way I was trying to put out." And you even spoke to me years after that. I said, "Yeah, I don't have nothing against you. I just said you took me out." So sometimes we put out stuff and come out the wrong way. That's it.
Yeah, it's all good. We need good guys. We need bad guys. And I have an open platform. If I ever say anything that pisses you off, you are welcome to come on here and come on
All
and
right.
tell me what I said was wrong, and I will listen. And if you make a good case, I'll be like, you know what, Leandro, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have said that. So
Like I said before, Chris, I have a different opinion of you now. Not that I have one really solid, but I can tell you something. Open up like we did. We've been more than an hour talk. Maybe that's the way to do stuff. You let people talk their feelings, and we listen and we move on. So thank you for the opportunity. It was a pleasure being here. Maybe we can do that again sometime.
for sure, man, I really appreciate it. I love the Brazil motocross scene, and yeah, I'm cheering for Enzo, and I hope he does really well this year on the Star Bike because I'm pretty sure that's what he's racing. But